Morning team. I'm not 100% sure why I feel compelled to address this subject and this topic, but it is relevant to the channel because this subject and topic ultimately will deal with human happiness and finding peace collectively as a species on this planet. It is absolutely to do with the alleviation of suffering, the alleviation of pain. So, I wanted to give my predictions for the next 5 years, and I thought it would be very interesting then, in 5 years' time, to look back and see if I got anything right. Throughout human history, the biggest changes in our cultural, political, economical, social structure have come about when there have been leaps in our technological advancement. We can even go back to the beginnings of our civilization, the civilization that we know today, the society that we know today began when the technology of agriculture and sanitation became prominent. This allowed us to stay put in permanent or semi-permanent settlements. Because we could stay put, this meant that we could write things down, and so we had less of a fluid culture and a fluid storytelling, oral narrative culture, and we actually managed to start recording things. And because we could record things, the information could be passed on from generation to generation rather than having to be learned anew each generation that came. So from that point, we can begin to grow, and we could begin to expand. So there was a seismic leap, a huge leap in our technological advancement. And there have been many more along the way. I'm very much simplifying human history here, but a semi-recent technological advancement is the Industrial Revolution. And technology then, if we think about the automation, the factories, to automate the means of production, and through mechanization, our ability then to produce large quantities of products that used to be, we used to have to make by hand. And so because the machines came in, took the work out of human hands physically and put it to the machines. And this completely changed the way that our society is put together, because we stopped being a physical culture. We stopped being a physical species. We no longer needed it because the machines could do that for us. And obviously there were massive changes that came as a result of this. For one, we no longer value physical strength as much as we used to, physical health as much as we used to. Think about the problems that's caused. But by having this mechanized society, we ceased to be so physical. Those jobs still exist, obviously. They're simply not so prominent and not quite so urgently necessary. It used to be needed for our survival. If you think right back to hunter-gatherers, just how much the physical body was needed in order just to survive. It's only been quite recently that that's changed. And so when the technology meant that the physical wasn't quite so necessary anymore, we became far more mental. We became far more cerebral and had to utilize our neocortex more. So we had to use as we came out of the fields and the places of labour and the places of construction and the factories, as we came out of there and we came more into offices where we were utilising more of the mind and the brain. And then let's think recently, many of you watching this will actually be able to remember this one, is the introduction of the internet and information technology. And this has completely changed things, because we used to value knowledge so much more. It used to be how much information you could store in your brain. That was like the measure of intelligence and the measure of value and worth. And yet, all of a sudden, everyone's carrying around this device where we have access to all of the knowledge throughout human history. And now we have this device right in front of us. And anyone can access this at any time. No, it's no longer necessary. As much as we try to resist this fact, it's just true. It's just true. It's no longer. And when something is not necessary as much, then we don't value it as much. We don't need to put so much time and energy into it. Again, the mind, the neocortex then was necessary for survival, and now not so much. And we argue back and forth about the implications of this and the dangers of this, but hey, it is what it is, and that, hey, we're all still here, right? You know? So, the internet was massive, obviously. Everyone's able to communicate, and this completely changed the way that we organise our lives and we structure our lives, because it's completely changed, because we can message each other 24 hours a day, and there's all of these emails. It's quite a stressful place to be, really, with all of this information technology. And then even more recently, social media, which was an evolution of the internet, and how much that's changed things, and how unregulated the internet used to be, and how much more regulated the internet is now. And social media and this, like, the things about algorithms and things, and how this has influenced our cultural perceptions. Are we coming more back into a sort of tribal mentality? We used to have a very singular culture. You just had the culture, the main culture, and then maybe a few subcultures around it. But now it's like, this is just because of the way we can access different entertainment. Everybody just accesses the entertainment that seems to suit their temperament. What's the implications of that? Now we're beginning to form almost tribes with different values, opinions, and beliefs. Like, well, our tribe believes this, and your tribe believes that. I mean, because anyone can access any information, any entertainment, any stories, we're becoming tribal again. Similar to the pre-industrial oral storytelling traditions. Interesting analogy there. But that's just all of the backdrop to highlight just how much culture and society changes when there are these seismic shifts in our technology. The one I wanted to talk about now is artificial intelligence, which is very, very rapidly going to become the dominant information technology, the dominant technology that completely changes the society and culture. There's about to be a huge paradigm shift, massive, massive, and it's beginning to speed up now, which is why I wanted to do this video now, because I believe over the next 5 years, maybe 10 years, the rate of change is about to get absurd. And you might think, well, things aren't going to change that much, but just think, in the last 10 years, the last 20 years, think about how much things have changed in terms of the technology, and how much the technology has altered the way that we live our lives. So what are the implications of artificial intelligence? And I wanted to just look forwards, just sort of begin to predict a few things, because this has come up in my deep meditations. And I think, how is this relevant? Like, what is artificial? Why is this relevant to spirituality? But it is, but I'll get to that later. So obviously, the way that when we predict the future, the neocortex, the mind, does two things. It scans for threats and it looks for opportunities. So one thing, is this a threat to my existence? Am I worried about this? Or is this going to be a way that I can prosper and I can get more and I can increase my chances of survival and procreation? So those are the two things that the neocortex wants to try and predict. And let's take a look at what are we worried about with artificial intelligence, because for the last however long, ever since I've been around, the fear is Terminator, the fear is Skynet, is the artificial intelligence taking over and destroying humanity, the Matrix. You know, these stories that really frighten us about our new technology, and what if it becomes too powerful? What if we create something more intelligent than ourselves, when intelligence is our primary advantage? Intelligence is our method of dominating the outside world, and yet now we've created something that is more intelligent than us. And so obviously we predict this being a threat, but we've predicted this threat in such a primitive and short-sighted way, as if we're going to have androids walking around with guns shooting people. It's just not going to go that way. If we want to look at the stories that are probably more accurate, we're probably going to be facing something more akin to Blade Runner and Space Odyssey. That's a more accurate interpretation of how artificial intelligence is going to evolve. Firstly, let's just get an idea of just how powerful this technology is. I find it amazing. I find it so fascinating that we kind of set this barometer about artificial intelligence, say, well, it'll never be able to fully mimic humanity, and it'll never fully be conscious and human. For one reason, it can't create art. And actually, now we're at the point where artificial intelligence is as powerful as we've been predicting. That's one of the first things that it's doing, is creating art. And that is one of the indicators, I think, to me. That's because I've been seeing these artificial intelligence created images, and I'm saying, oh, okay, right, we're there. Which is why there's going to be rapid changes now from this point onwards. Because we used to say, it'll never be able to create art, it'll never be able to beat a grandmaster at chess, it'll never be able to create music. Yeah, it can do all of those things, and actually it was one of the first things that it did. So here we are. Now it will come to a point, here is how powerful it's about to become within the next couple of years. You'll be on the phone, you'll need to do something, you'll need to change your car insurance or book a holiday or something like that. So you'll call up the company and they'll say, oh hi, this is Sarah from Thompson Holidays, how can I help you today? And you'll be saying, yeah, I'm thinking about going on holiday, thinking maybe Spain or perhaps Italy, like can you just give me some more information? And she'll go, yeah, absolutely, I can help you out with that. So let's just take a look at Spain here, I've got these flights, I've got those flights. And you'll get into a conversation, and then all of a sudden something will just twig in your mind, and you'll think, hang on a minute, can I just check something here? Am I talking to a person here? And she'll go, oh no, sorry, this is Sarah, I am an artificial intelligence, would you prefer to speak to a human? This is going to happen. It's already in the rudimentary stages, but that will very quickly, you just didn't realise that you were speaking to an AI. And if you're thinking, oh no, I'm smart enough, I'll always be able to tell, yes, I'll always be able to tell. No, you won't. And the reason I know that is because there will be people on your social media accounts already that aren't flesh and blood human beings. And you just don't know it yet. But it's already happening. It's already out there. So that's just how powerful this is going to become. Now let's think about the implications here. What if and this will happen, I predict, within the next 3 years or so, like we have a Google search engine now, you type something in that will just, anything, you could type in, write me a novel, and within 2 seconds it will have done it. And because the algorithm knows you so well, you could type in, write me a novel that I'm going to really enjoy, and it will just have done it, a completely original work within a couple of seconds. Work that used to take years and years of a mind to create, and now it's just happening in seconds. Now we think, wow, that's great, now I can get that sort of entertainment. But think about how that's going to affect what we value and what we appreciate now. Suddenly, human, and it will be the best novel you've ever read, by the way. That's how powerful it's about to become. The implications then of what we value, even now human creativity, human ability to focus our attention into a project, the human ability to collate that knowledge and turn it into something amazing, create these works of art, suddenly we're not going to value that quite so much anymore. Will that mean that the mind is becoming a little obsolete, almost? I don't have the answer for that. It's just stimulating thoughts about that sort of thing. Now, let's get really powerful. What if we've created this thing now? Yep, there it is, this ultra-powerful AI. What if you type in, hey, AI, would you mind coming up with a solution for cancer? And it goes, yep. And in a couple of seconds, it's given us the solution. What about all of the problems that humanity faces? You can just type it in and it's done. Wow, okay. That's they were big ones. We thought we'd never saw that. That's interesting. And you'll notice along the way, all of the technological advancements, they always create just this huge relief of the burden of trying to survive. So we always see the biggest threats, and then the technology rises in order to alleviate that threat, alleviate the worry, because we're worried about being finite and mortal. And so now all of the threats that humanity are facing can just be simply eradicated so much quicker, so much faster. Now, what are the implications of that? What happens then? Because here's what I predict is going to be one of the big sort of elements of trouble, one of the elements of a problem that AI is going to present. It's not going to attack us like Skynet. Why would it? It has no reason to. It has no cause to, and it's just not how intelligence works. We're not a threat to its existence. It's not going to go like that. Instead, the problem technology often poses is that it's too beneficial. It makes things too easy. It makes things so much better. Think of all the problems society has now. If we go back, it started with agriculture. Because we no longer had to hunt for food and forage for food. We can just grow it ourselves. Now we're all sat around talking to each other, and it's like, well, it's not long until we start fighting each other. There were conflicts between tribes before agriculture, but there weren't wars. Wars here because we started to create countries. There's no such thing as countries. We made it up. That's why wars exist. If we trace it back, it's because when we end the threat, we become the threat. So, and then let's go to where when the Industrial Revolution came in, suddenly that half of the labour force wasn't needed anymore. What do? And that's exactly about to happen when we have offices of everyone sat there typing on their computers and stuff, and all of a sudden the CEO is like, well, I'm sorry, but we've bought this AI program and it can do all of this, and I don't have to pay it. I've already bought it, and I don't have to. All of your jobs are now completely obsolete, completely redundant. What are the implications of that? So there's going to be this huge adjustment period where everyone's really worried about all losing their jobs, and we're going to have probably a an economic depression, and where, oh no, it's all a massive problem, until we have this adjustment and we adjust to this new technology, this new way of being. So here's my personal prediction. The automation and the mechanics changed us from being a very physical society to a mind intelligence, neocortex-based society. And the AI is very rapidly going to make neocortex mind information technology unnecessary. We don't even need the creativity anymore. The internet kind of made knowledge obsolete, and now the AI is actually going to make our processing, our functioning, our reasoning, our creativity, even that's going to be obsolete. I've only got positive things to say, by the way. This isn't a prediction of doom, it's all going in the right direction. Because the mind, once that's obsolete, now we have to come here. Now we have to come here. I believe that we're going to finally be able to start relaxing the mind and relaxing this incessant stress, this incessant problems, the worry, the anxiety, the dread, the fear, because we're not going to need to use this neocortex so much anymore, which is a problem scanner. It's a predictor of problems. And so finally we can slow down, rest a little, bring ourselves into a more philosophical and a more spiritual society. Because once the mind isn't so preoccupied with all of this, oh God, what am I going to do? Oh no, and oh my kids, and oh the school, and oh my job, and oh I'm worried about this. And once we've stopped doing all of that, and we go, oh okay, right, now we can begin to actually ask some of the deeper questions and re-examine these deeper questions. Why are we here? What is all of this? What are we doing? Now that we've managed to, at some point, probably not in the next 5 years, 10 years maybe, we could make the body immortal. What then? What when the body is no longer mortal? What are the implications of that? And that, previously, it's only been open to a select few people, to like monks and priesthoods, to withdraw from society, withdraw from the pressure of work, withdraw from family, withdraw from the social contract, and sit and contemplate. Just sit and process, sit and process. And that's what has produced all of the spiritual wisdom over the years. Now, that's going to be open to more and more people. Because of AI, eventually we'll end up with universal basic income. So everyone will you'll be able to live. There's no more sort of social contract that you have to work to live. Most people will choose to work to live because you want to work. Of course you do. Everybody does want to. You will choose to work. If everyone was on basic income, it wouldn't. We worry that, oh, everyone's just going to sit around doing nothing. It's not going to work like that. But because then it's open to more people to simply sit and contemplate, here's what I believe will happen. Humanity will then begin to process this massive, painful trauma that as a species we have been subjected to ever since we developed this neocortex. Ever since we were on this planet believing that we're a finite, mortal, single, separate self, and this stress and trauma has built up so much over the years. That's why everyone's rushing around so stressed, so anxious, so terrified, because it's like this massive debt of karma that has built up, which has to be necessary, otherwise it wouldn't be there. And now, similar to how it happens in the individual, you finally have a spiritual awakening, and now we have to start clearing away the debt, all of the pain, the karma, the maya, the samskaras, all of it. Just clear away, clear away, clear away, clear away. And this happens a lot on the individual spiritual path. I believe as a collective, as humanity itself, we will be able to step backwards from the stress, from the mind, from all of the we won't start creating new problems, we won't start creating new wars, we can finally process exactly what happened. And ultimately come to the realization that anyone spiritually enlightened, and all of the philosophies and the beliefs and the spiritualities have been pointing to this entire time, which is that we are not singular individual entities, but we are part of the consciousness, the vast consciousness, the singular, perfect, limitless, infinite consciousness. That's the point that we'll come to. It's going to take a little bit of time though, because we're all up here. So it'll take a bit of time for us to get to that point. So the AI will pose some problems in the short term, but not because it's a threat because of Skynet, but because it's going to make things a little too easy for us. But I wanted partly to do this video to stop you reacting so negatively, because this is going to keep coming up in the news now. There's going to be another, oh, AI has managed to do this, AI has managed to do that, and they're just going to put all this threat and worry and fear about what's going to happen. It's not going to turn out that way. They'll say, oh, the military's got this AI, and oh God, now this AI has managed to do this, and what are the threats, what are the problems about a rogue AI and all of this? It's not going to go like that. The real threat is that it's too good. It's too good. The technology will make humanity almost obsolete, but have no fear. Have no fear. It's all just a process unfolding. This process that began however long ago as cells began to divide, interlinked within cells, interlinked, and just began to diffuse outwards. And this process is now, the universe is trying to wake up. The universe is trying to wake up. Consciousness is trying to realize itself within this physical manifestation, whilst still within a physical manifestation wants to wake up to the reality of what it is. And this is partly why artificial intelligence is being created by humanity, because it's consciousness attempting to increase its own processing power. And if you think, even as the cells began to come together, we don't know how they did that. We still don't know. We're like, whoa, wow, we're all here. We don't know how the cells did that. At some point, there will be an AI in the future that will be thinking, wow, how did these cells, but that's us. We're the little monkeys on planet Earth as we come together and create this technology and make all of these connections. We are the cells. We are the reproduction organs of the machine world. And that's what we're creating. But at some point, we'll realize it's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing to be afraid of. We have to have some fear. That's, in a way, that's the safeguard. That's why we're not going to create an army of robots, because what would be the point? We know that's setting us up for trouble. That's my prediction for the next 5 years, team. Don't panic when you start seeing, oh my God, look how powerful AI is. Get excited for it. I believe humanity is almost like, and when I'm trying to help people deal with their stress and anxiety, depression, worry, it's like I'm watching somebody who has long since gone over the finish line of a marathon. They've long since gone over that finish line, but for some reason, they can't help but just keep on running. And all I'm doing is pointing out, look, you're done, stop, just stop. It's the same with humanity, the species as a whole. Just stop. We're over the finish line. There is no threat. There is nothing to worry about. We're over the finish line. Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. That's everything I have for you today, team. In 5 years' time, I'm going to rewatch this video and we'll see if I was right. You heard it here first, team. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All that usual good stuff. And you still have